and welcome to the Weed Out, where we weed out the bullshit and talk about the nonsense in our backyard. I'm Spencer Fox Peterson, as always, with my partner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna May Booty.
Nice to have Joanna here, as always. We're here to talk with Laura Saylor. She's like our Eastern Mass, branch of the Weed Out, I would say. Staunch abolitionist and workers' rights advocate and organized with the Workers' Party. She ran for Senate last cycle. We had her on a few episodes ago. One of our, largest numbered, most people listen to that. That was top 3, I believe. Right, Joanna?
I think so.
So, thank you everybody for tuning in for the last one. This is a continuation. We're going to check in on the scenario with Chief Ron Sellon of Mansfield, who we're going to save all this for Laura because she knows it better than us, but he's basically been found unfit to serve and he's demanding a payout to go away. Then we're also going to discuss the Sandra Birchmore case, which is what Laura was here last time to talk about, and how it's tied into another murder that's actually making national news. All this stuff is happening in Sleepy Town, Eastern Mass. This happens everywhere. So that's why we started the Weed Out. It's this bullshit's happening in our backyards. Police going unchecked, not doing what they say they're doing, which we know why. We've talked about why, but like it's important to keep us in people's face. And these cases are really gross. As much as we platform good things like unions and people organizing the community to uplift and build mutual aids networks and all that stuff, we also need to talk about the bullshit. So we also have a fun topic for ghoulery and tomfoolery afterwards. I hope Laura stays. So we're gonna do our hot take ghoulery and tomfoolery with a national headline or a local headline. But that's enough for housekeeping, other than please go to theweedout.com, check all our sources, our resources, links to all our episodes and show notes. Anything that we have that can be backed up with some sort of bibliography link, we do. That's the whole point, try to get the information out there. Thank you so much again for listening. With everybody listening, it gives us drive to keep making content, to get the word out about the shenanigans and also the good things. But this week we're going to talk about some shenanigans. So Laura, how are you today?
Oh my God, I am worn out, I'll tell you. I was thinking this abolition stuff is pretty much a full-time job.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's at least like raising a family or starting a business, and
It's really not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you that right now. You gotta like.
It's an unpopular position.
No,
and it's not because you're a fascist who wants to hurt others. You actually want the opposite, and that's what's so frustrating. It's like, listen, I just want a better world. I understand this is a risk and this is the unknown, but the status quo ain't working for us. So we appreciate you doing the work. We're just talkers into a microphone. We have our own little pet projects here or there, but it's people like you that are doing the trench work, and we appreciate that. So that's why we have to platform and share the stories.
well, you know how I view this, Spencer. I view it. What you guys do is equally important. I mean, if not even. I mean, it's so important what you guys do, and I really appreciate what you do. You guys are fantastic, because the more people know about this, like so many people don't know what's going on right in their backyard.
Yeah, local journalism. The journalism's never been perfect in this world, especially because back in the day you had to have money to have a printing press. Like, it's never been perfect, right?
Right.
The last 20 years, the deprioritization and the conglomeration of media, it's really bad, man. Like, this is how people like George Santos make it to Congress, because there's just no local journalists digging up the bullshit. We don't claim to be journalists. We claim to be a platform for journalists, and we do some journalism, but like, we're just more of a platform. We want to get the word out, right? And we agree that it's very important. We know that Decarcerate Massachusetts was just Western Massachusetts was just on last week sharing their platform and what they do. They're not the business of they have enough to do with just doing their mutual aid, but they need support. So we gotta help them get that. And we decided to spend our free time editing, doing social media. And that's just, yes, it is important. It's all part of a thing. It's everybody needs to work.
We do some journalism.
Off of the faint of heart.
All the same thing, no matter what you do in it. I don't care if you're just keeping a spreadsheet, if you're providing a platform, or if you're doing actual physical work, hanging up signs and whatnot. And you could be busy, you could do it, easily 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, and still have stuff like, that you're working on and not done with yet.
And
It's
the
absolutely
only
wild.
correspondence you get is hate correspondence.
You do. You get a lot of hate correspondence. And that brings us back to Mr. Sellon.
Oh, Chief Sellon of the Mansfield Police.
Sellon.
Anybody-
Now, you recall the video, Spencer, don't you?
One.
The video of his rage fit in his front yard.
I remember. I try not to watch them. I one and done. I'm usually done, but because it all kind of looks the same to me.
Yeah. See, his isn't.
It needs a mental health, intervention. As somebody with a rage issue myself,
Yeah.
I always have that rage issue. I have it under control, or I have it understood and managed. But I understand. But that's also why I didn't become a cop.
I was going
Right,
to say,
right.
you're not the chief of police in a
Police,
I
town.
wouldn't say,
Yeah.
like anybody, if I told a friend, "Oh, I'm thinking about being a cop," when I was 20 years old, they all would have been like, "No fucking way."
Oh, yeah.
Your temper, until you figure that out, then maybe we'll discuss.
Right, right. And we did hang up the milk carton posters last year because nobody knew what was going on with Ron Sellon and why we were paying him.
So that's a backstory. He was not around.
People started to notice they didn't see him around. Yeah.
What was happening at that point? Was he having personal
He
issues?
was on paid administrative leave, as he still is.
I see he makes $175,000 a year ish. And that's the same as the chief in Greenfield. These people make so much money and do nothing. Well, actually hurt the community. They make money to make it worse, I feel like.
He's the one that they put in the giant public safety center in Mansfield rather than the old police station. That was his, and that was millions, like tens of millions of dollars. It was his idea to do the social workers, cops acting as social workers and dealing with addiction and, any kind of crisis call. See, that kind of a system, when departments implement that, and I've requested I don't know how many different kinds of training manuals and policies and procedures for crisis management and addiction. Around here, it's all pretty much the same shit. It's the same stuff that Paul Hero talked about in his campaign. This is what Sellon was pushing. I'm a cop who cares. I'm the good cop. And the liberals loved it. They ate it up. They wanted him as chief. They put him in as chief of police. Sellon, if you read the investigation, had been sent to anger management, like a cop retreat, a few years before they promoted him.
Come on, you guys.
They promoted him, and I think a civilian worker in the police department. I forget whether it was sexual harassment, it was some kind of toxic work environment thing. And, she wound up leaving. And that, it was unfounded. But not long thereafter, then, once he started, the other cops started being the target of his bullying. Then Ellsworth, who, I have no love for that man either. Ellsworth felt it necessary to bring the concerns of the staff to the town manager. He was having rage fits. He punched a hole in the wall. The investigations there online. The Sun Chronicle has it. You can download it. But it is just, to listen to them, they sound like a bunch of middle school bullies that were left in a detention room by themselves for about an hour. The backstabbing and that they talk shit about people in the community or people who work at the courthouse, their appearances, mainly women. Ron Sellon mocking.
Oh, yeah, it's not to be mean, but ooh,
And
child.
it's like I know, like when we did the milk carton poster, as a matter of fact, when we came up with the idea for the milk carton poster, it was me and Fauzi and Dave on I think a Zoom like this. And we were high as hell. And we pulled up his portrait. And I was like, he looks like fucking Elmer Fudd.
Because I just pulled it up and I'm like, this man was, I don't like to use like appearances usually, but I'm like, this man, if he threw the first punch, like, sir,
Yeah,
no,
yeah. Well,
no.
he was mocking, like, like making fun of their weight and like
Yeah, that sucks. Mm-mm.
people's appearances. Some woman over at the courthouse that worked there, he was mocking her, stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
This seems to be a pattern. I mean, we have Captain Reyes and Holyoke, as a create a toxic workplace. There seems to be a pattern here, and it takes a lot before people start speaking out. A lot.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, we put the milk carton up, and it was basically, we need the town to be transparent about this, and they're being very opaque. They still are. And, my position on this is that yes, the town manager and the select board are horrible and they're wrong in a lot of things. I can't stand them. Yes, I do believe Ron Sellon that Kevin Dumas, tried to get him out of a DUI. I believe that.
Tell us who Kevin Dumas is for the audience.
Kevin Dumas is the town manager of Mansfield. He used to be the mayor of Attleboro, and he was notoriously corrupt there. And then Mansfield hired him on as town manager.
And I just want the audience to know, because if you don't have the type of town where you have a select board and a town manager, I ran for that position and that's how my town's set up. And if they wanted to decide to fire police chief, they are his boss and could do so. They may have to face something with the union, but they have the power to do that. And they, as Laura's saying, they often just have this major control over a town. They may listen to your problems or, pretend they're listening, but really they're just doing their own agendas pretty much.
Yeah. And I'm sure I know that their agendas are hideous and horrible and corrupt as hell. I can't stand Kevin Dumas. I think he's a terrible town manager. He's an embarrassment. That said, that doesn't absolve Ron Sellon of the fact that he is unfit to serve. He's displayed that, on video. It's on video.
Yeah, I just found one, so I will share like the links to everything you've mentioned on the episode.
Yeah. And he, like in his interview with Channel 10 last summer, I think last July, he had Ryan Kath asked him, he said, why do you think people are upset with you then? Like, why do you think that? And he was like, well, we are a paramilitary organization. And he said that on TV. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of my neighbors in my building were like, Jesus Christ, because they're not paying attention. They don't know. You know what I mean? They don't know what's going on. And they were like, Jesus.
Well, he said it out loud. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you're probably not supposed to say that part.
Now the excuses. Fast forward to today, his supporters. He's actually understands that it is paramilitary and he's in there to change that. No, he's not.
Oh God, that's even worse.
Trained in Israel.
Because they're the ones training. That's who's Cop City in Atlanta. I know this is a sidebar, but you brought up Israel. It's the Israeli forces that are training our cops to do apartheid style enforcement here. That's exactly what it is. And these, especially suburban towns like Mansfield.
It says he was a veteran too, so he may have served. I don't know where.
He probably did. I mean, he so anyway, yeah, I mean, there's numerous instances of stuff that he's done. People have had run-ins with him. Quite a few people have had run-ins with him. He was known to, and this came out in the investigation, but people in my building have had this problem where he would, not process your gun permit and like let it sit forever and a day. Petty stuff like that. They found him unfit to serve after we got it exposed. And we got it exposed with the milk carton poster. We made that poster. It was a hit. We put it up. My friend Jamie took it. He does swap meets and, stuff like that. So he's always hanging up signs. So he just took them and he blew them up everywhere. And he's a townie. So he knew right where, people were going to go. He put some over at the MBTA station. They ripped those down real quick. But, people did see him. Ryan, Kath, and Shara Soul saw it. And they asked to interview me. So I interviewed with them. And, they published about this. But it was funny because they got the picture of the poster that we hung up at the recycling park facing the police station. So they were there like right in front of my poster. And every time they would do a retake of that, the poster was there. People in Mansfield were like, wow, that poster was hilarious. We put if found, contact. We gave the police non-emergency number.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, can you describe the poster for the audience?
Oh yeah, it was a milk carton. And I don't know if Ryan Kathy even said to me, a lot of people have to be reminded about what the milk carton was about, because we're old. But milk carton, you used to put the face of missing children on a milk carton, missing people, and hope that people would see it. So we put his face on a milk carton and we said, last seen collecting a bonus. If found, call. And we gave the police non-emergency number. And boy, that took off. And, then, we find out because, you can do records requests, but we don't have the resources to fight that. Ryan Kath and Shara Stoll do at NBC 10.
Oh, that's true.
So they put in a request, the town denied it, then they brought it right to, but then they won,
Oh,
them
that's
and the Sun
fantastic.
Chronicle. So they got, but they kind of like tried to slow the machinery down by, denying it and stuff like that. But the day that Sellon had his fit was election day last year, town elections. And we stood out with a group with our milk carton sign. So we put the milk carton poster up and he saw it. We were standing in front, a group of us. Ryan, Kath, and Shara Stoll came that day too and filmed us there. And, people were driving in to vote. And like a lot of people were like, man, you're right. This is so fucked up. This is, it's ridiculous. We're sick of paying. And it's not just Sellon. They've had problems with the superintendent of schools. They had to pay off hundreds of thousands of dollars to go away. Town managers, I think 3 or 4 of them. And, it's a corrupt kind of clause written into the contract that lets them do that. And it's an expensive town to live in, So that was the night that Sellon went home and had that rage fit in his yard. And his neighbor caught it with a Ring camera. He was caught on that camera saying he was going to hunt down their children, talking about, I think, Mike Trowbridge, select board member. And the town, it was reported that the town actually tried to get him charged from the DA's office for that, but the DA declined, DA being Cruz. So, this plays out over time. The investigation comes out, people start reading it, people start seeing the video. And they're like, fuck. So not long after they say, okay, he has been found unfit to serve. They put that in the paper, it was everywhere. We're just kind of working on getting, we're finalizing his termination and stuff, terms and stuff. Okay. And, life just kind of went on. And then nothing ever happened.
Like he never got fired.
Like he never left.
Oh my goodness.
And, this has been over 6 months since he's been found unfit to serve, way over 6 months.
Is he still acting like as chief?
Ellsworth has been working as chief, and they've been paying Ellsworth. They bumped up Ellsworth from assistant to chief as a temporary thing. And they're paying him. So we're paying 2 police chief salaries, plus some other guy that got bumped up to assistant chief. You're paying that too.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah. And, he's determined, Ron Sellon's determined he's going to remain chief. Or he's going to take a lot of money going out, is what the rumor is. The rumor is that he's going to want like upwards of 3 million, I think.
That's what I wondered if
I don't know if that's true. I know that that's a rumor that's been going around. And town meeting is late this year, very late. They have to have the budget into the state by the 30th, I think. We usually have town meeting in like early May. It's June 15th. If they don't make quorum, they might not make that budget deadline, right? So they're playing funny with the timing on this. That's quite clear. So I was at work and I got a text message, and I usually don't check them very often in there because I'm working with my hands. But when I went on my break, I checked it. It was Shara Stoll from Channel 10. And she said, Laura, how have you been? You know, what's going on with Ron Sullivan? Are you guys going to do another poster campaign? She goes, because Jesus, she goes, he's been like, it's been more than 6 months. He's been found unfit to serve. And you just don't, when they've been found unfit to serve, she goes, you don't see it drag out like this. You know, she's like, we don't get it. So I said, all right, we'll do another poster. We're going to do another poster campaign. I had been planning on that anyway. I just hadn't gotten to it. And I went home that night and figured out a, you know, version of a wanted poster, but not wanted. Make it clear to him, you know, you're not wanted. You know, I mean, people are done subsidizing your ass.
Seriously.
You know, I mean, look at the economy that we're in. People are hurting, especially people who are like townies and like they only own a house in Mansfield because, you know, they inherited it.
Yeah,
You know,
property tax must be wild there. They must be in.
and like, you know, you don't have a mortgage anymore, but you're paying property taxes, and property taxes in Mansfield are outrageous.
Yeah, I can only imagine if they're paying that many people too, you know?
Yep. And you know, for those taxes, the town of Mansfield doesn't have a community center for the kids. It doesn't have a town pool. There's really nothing unless you pay for it, for like kids to go to during the summer or on vacation, or, you know, unless you pay for it, there isn't shit here for them.
Yeah, that's why, you know, Chief Ron Sellon taking a salary, not even working. I mean, I don't think his job is legitimate, but regardless, he's not even quote unquote earning his keep. And not
No,
to use the language of the oppressor, but like, this is fucking bullshit. And you can't even get like, I don't know, community things like for kids, like youth programs for, you know,
no.
during the summer at the park. You know, I mean, I did stuff with Parks and Recreation, you know, for a few years in Quincy, but they were scaling that stuff back in the 90s. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's non-existent now. But yeah, I mean, the isolation of that, the economy and the status quo creates, and then we don't have community, and people like Ron Sellon can get away with stealing our money.
Ron Sullivan went to the FBI Academy too.
That's scary. So is Sullen he's in this position, he had the select board member. Do you think the select board members are potentially like just afraid to fire him then or get him removed? Is it like
I
that type
don't
of?
know what's going on. I
Okay.
know that one of the select board members, Frank Delvecchio, who I kind of know as an acquaintance type thing, he declined to run for reelection.
Okay. Which
And
it can be hard to do those positions too. So
I know,
they actually don't usually get paid at all or very much. I just want to
I
put that out there for the audience.
I know, and I'm guessing that this is such a big fucking hassle, and you know, he probably doesn't want anything to fucking do with it.
Well, and if that guy threatened him, I'm just thinking like that is scary if the chief of police is threatening your kids.
Well, he
Like,
didn't threaten Frank Delvecchio's kids. He
okay,
threatened
okay.
Mike Trowbridge's, I think. It was Mike Trowbridge. And Mike Trowbridge's daughter is a teacher in Mansfield. And guess who's running for school committee?
His wife. Oh no.
I mean, I've never spoken to Mike Trowbridge's daughter. I don't know how she feels about it. But like, you know, anyone can watch that video and hear what he said. And I mean, I don't know. It's just such a big mess. It really is.
Yeah, that is a lot.
So she said, you guys do a poster campaign, and can I come out and interview you again? And we're going to do another segment. They interview me and probably a couple other people, and then they'll get in touch with me in about 2 or 3 weeks and let me know when it's going to air.
We will share that everywhere when that
Yeah,
comes out.
yeah. I'll let you know. But so we thought it up, and I thought yellow and black, really gets people's attention even at night, at the yellow. So we threw them up, and before Ryan and Shara got here, my phone started blowing up. The select board member, Steve Schoenfeld, who was initially saying, oh, we have to have transparency. And I had spoken to him, and he's the one that outed the fact that they weren't saying anything about selling. So when I talked to Steve Schoenfeld, I said, my problem too is with the police. I don't, this is my problem with what Sellon does. I don't like that, And, he was like, oh, I can see that point. And he was like, yeah, but we need transparency. So he kind of worked with me a little bit, but he was really kind of like bossy, kind of like after I did the interview and we were at the election, he didn't want to stand near us. But he told me, and he made that clear. And he said to me, he was like, well, you actually did very well. I was nervous about it. I'm like, why the fuck are you nervous about it? What do you care? I'm not talking on your behalf. I am stating what I know. I'm answering questions myself, but it was very like, I don't know, like the liberals in town feel that they can direct our energy however they see fit. So I thought that was odd. And then there was a woman in town who I actually know. I'm not going to give her name, but she started that year going, oh, he's a really good guy. I think they've got it, but we got to, I said, well, we'll wait and see what comes out in the wash. I said, why don't we wait and see what comes out in the wash, and we'll see why, what's going on here. Well, he's an aggrieved victim, and he's being persecuted. I'm like, well, we'll see. And that, this was before he said paramilitary and the tape came out. And she just kept we invited her to another rally about another subject that we'll talk about later entirely. And she didn't respond to the rally, but she sent Jill a message going, can you help me get rid of my town manager? And she was like, what is the context of this? I don't even know. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. And then she just never said another word. Well, this day, she just bombarded my email box. Please listen, you must remove him. You must focus your attack on Kevin Dumas and leave Ron out of it entirely. He's been through a lot. And, his son saw those pictures, and, Schoenfeld was angry with me. And, he said, oh, I wanted Dumas to go, Ron is this and Ron is that. I said, no, we discussed this. He was like, are you being opportunistic? And I said, well, if you're going to say that, I said, we don't really need to continue the conversation. But I will just say that you and I discussed this last year and what my issues were with this. And that maybe we should have a common issue in transparency, but we don't share the issue with the cops. And I left it at that, and he's left it at that. Dana, well, you can edit out her name, but she got all day back and, please listen to me. Please listen to me. He's a good person. He wanted to hire a social worker. He wants to do all this. He wants to do all that. And, I've told her a million times, I don't support police in those roles. You're putting police in a caregiving role. It doesn't work out. There's plenty of stats out there that confirm this. You can look up any day, school resource officers, explorer programs, and it's not pretty. But he's different. He's different. He's different. He's going to change everything. And she just wouldn't stop.
It's a lack of imagination. They're scared of change. I mean, that's just I don't know this person. So like,
But I finally said, you know, listen, I'm like, I'm not gonna go in circles about this. You're not gonna tell us, you're not gonna order us what to do or what we can say or what we can put on a poster. You need to go find someone else to order around because it's not gonna get you anywhere here. And then there's another one from a liberal NGO, and you know all about that. But my phone was blowing up. And Ryan and Shara came, we did the interview. And after I took care of that, other people's phones started blowing up. Sarah's phone started blowing up. And since then, we're just going to continue on our poster campaign. And I've never claimed otherwise. It's outrageous that we're paying him this amount of money. It's and if they let him go, he's wanting, from what the rumor says, like 3.5 mil.
Yeah, and then the two other people, that's a lot for the town. And I'm wondering, like, for the audience, like, police have some of the best, what they would call unions. It's more like an association that bullies your town into taking and extorting all of its money. And I love unions, but police unions, man. So I don't know if like there's a reason, like if you're let go, why you would get that much money, but I don't think the town should give him money if not. Like there may be like a fine you have to pay or something. I would just pay the union thing and be done with it.
I know it.
Honestly.
There's something, see, but I think that what's going on in Mansfield is deeper than that. I think what's going on, I'm like 99% positive that's the case.
Well, small towns, we keep seeing it pop up in news even around here, like in North Adams, other places. Greenfield, the rumors, like regarding just what's going on, you know, it's all rumors, but some of the people I absolutely believe them. So I'm not surprised if that ends up being the case.
And Mansfield has a history of this stuff. You know, there's all kinds. And you know, it's, you know how town government is. Like it's very incestuous. Like I know the town, I grew up in Westford, right? Westford, Mass. Same type of thing as Mansfield, right? Any other of these little suburban enclaves around here. And I could go back there and I would bet that like 80% of the police force, I actually know this, like 80% of the police force, and I didn't mean to make it a guess, probably like 60 or 70% of, you know, elected town officials are probably relatives of people who were in those positions from the time I was a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
it's a gang.
Or like close friends at least, if not relatives. I always find
it is, yeah, and that's exactly what it is.
An insular cult. I think we talked about this the last time you were on, Laura. That yeah, they go on vacation together. They do this, they do that. It's like a polycule.
It is.
I have the language for it.
that's a scary version.
They're like, well, it's dangerous because they like
I like that.
But they don't talk about it. It's toxic. It's a fucking time bomb. It's a polycule time bomb. It's this. If you're doing polyamory, this is kind of off tangent.
Yeah, this is.
But like, this is the thing with incest. It's like incest is, you know, not literal incest, but like nepotism and nepotism's with blood. But like in the incestuous relationships that we're talking about in all our towns, it's understandable to a certain degree because not to get too big picture, but it's because of the profit motive is, you know, the motive to get ahead is the wrong rewards are given. So of course our governments are going to devolve into this. But yeah, I mean, they're closed circles. It's a culture issue. It's petty lords and peasants.
And I think that the Sellon faction of this, right, of this little, you know, this little cult type thing, they were waiting to see if I would back off of Sellon when this came out. You know, and when I didn't, and they found out that I wasn't going to, and the posters went up, boy, they're not happy. So, you know, that's where I'm like, too bad. I'm sorry you don't like it.
Well, and if it's the truth, I mean, they should want
Well,
that to be
it
out
is.
there. I
Everything
know.
in that poster, everything in that poster, and I made sure this is either something he said or, he was found guilty of in this investigation. I didn't put anything up there that I thought that, rumors I heard that like are probably true, but
Yeah, yeah.
we'll wait to see it come out in the wash, right?
Yes.
But this stuff that Ron Sullivan himself has said and done, I mean, it's out there.
There's receipts. The internet's forever. We can't just forget this.
No, and so it's going to be interesting. Town elections. I think we're going to go stand out there with these signs. Because I don't want his wife getting on school committee. Jesus.
Well, yeah, and the signs, like you said, are very helpful for those. We find recently, even with the podcast, like it's really hard to get all of the local headlines or information, because yeah, it may be covered in like one source, but you may not see it. So if I were coming and going to an election and I saw you standing there, I would definitely have questions. So I think that's a really good idea, and it's fantastic for people to learn.
Last year, the ones that knew, some of them were
Right.
pissed and some of them weren't, but like people genuinely did go, oh, what's this about?
Yeah, because it's like
Yeah.
why like I would wonder like, oh, what is the paramilitary one on the black and the second poster? I would wonder why someone said that, especially a police chief, just generally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that this is going to be the point in time when we start getting pushback.
Oh yeah.
Um, I don't think I'm almost 99% positive they're nowhere near a majority of people in town, but that they're really, really angry that I didn't cave and do what they wanted me to do, which is back off of Ron Sullivan.
Well, and they're probably used to getting their way because they're people like some of them carry guns. So
Yeah,
I know you mentioned like people have been sending you messages, but
yeah.
I hope they are smart enough to not do more than that, because I know you're a strong, capable woman.
I'm not really worried. I'm not
I
worried
know
about
you're
that.
not, but
I'm not.
I worry about the police in general in this country. So and even the stories we have to follow are the reasons why, if that makes
Oh
sense.
my God.
You know,
It's like all these towns are
it's so
kind of like,
scary.
I'll tell you which one all three departments kind of have Mansfield, not so much, but a tiny bit in what happened in Canton. So, yeah,
Just to remind everybody, like, it's understandable if anybody listening, it's understandable if you don't want to directly match energy with cops and fascists and their sycophants. Unfortunately, with fascists, um, that's the only thing they understand. You have to match energy. It doesn't mean you're going to harm, but you have to make it uncomfortable to be in the public space because, listen, your ideas, your models are they're inhumane. There are people who reach out to us at the Weed Out, for example, or in our neighborhood who have said things like in passing, like, I'm glad you have passion for this. Thank you. Or whatever, whatever their thing is. And maybe they agree, maybe they don't. They're just glad somebody's engaged. It makes you want to keep engaging, and that's good. So if you're afraid to talk out against cops because they do have guns
yeah.
and they're nuts, and we're gonna get in further why like these cases. So just please, Laura, expand on that with how the scary they can be.
They're wicked scary. Like, poor Sandra Birchmore. We had a whole episode on Sandra. Um, Sandra's case is still sitting there. These cops are still have jobs. One of them is a TSA agent. The town of Abington will not give so much as basic employment information about Josh Hill. So we decided to hold a rally at the Abington town meeting outside. And we had a pretty good sized crowd. I think we got about maybe 30 people. We got together, a few of us, the week before, and we made a bunch of signs. So the people who went into Abington town meeting could see them and know, keep that in mind. What is this creep? Because they had on the agenda at town meeting whether or not they were going to exempt the police from the civil service requirements. So, I mean, you can't even hire a school resource officer who's in an investigation as we speak on this horrible, trafficking and grooming and just horrible case. So that was a success. We had a lot of people, almost 100% support, people going in for that. I mean, the
That's
only
good.
ones who didn't show support were the police.
Well, shocker.
They showed up in like a K9 unit and went in. I don't know what that was about, but we did that. And one of the women that I know from the Justice for Sandra Birchmore group, who knew Sandra, got in touch with me and told me about a woman named Karen Reed and an incident that occurred not long after Sandra's case made the news. And that was Officer O'Keefe. He was a younger cop. I guess he was raising his sister's kids. He had a girlfriend who had recently been staying with him from Mansfield named Karen Reed. Karen owns a house she rents out now in Mansfield, I guess. But she was staying with him, helping him with these two kids. They go out to a bar for the night. They go out to have a night out. They're in their 40s. And they meet a couple of the cops and, a cop wife type, Jennifer McCabe. I think she's a sister-in-law or something, but they're all related and they all live in this neighborhood.
Well, they'll all identify that way too. So it's not even weird to say that because they'd be like, I'm the sister-in-law of a cop.
Yeah, I believe it. There was like BPD and like feds at this party and everything that they were invited to.
Gross.
And I guess Karen Reed decided, she really didn't feel like going.
I understand.
She wanted to go home. She was going to drop him off. And she did that and she left. And, they'd been drinking and he never came home. And she was trying to call him. And then she hears from Jennifer McCabe, his body's in the snowbank outside, right? And they basically, this has hit the national news, so anybody who wants to look this up can look it up. This Jennifer McCabe basically convinced her that, you probably hit him with a 3-point turn, leaving the house party. You were drunk, you probably don't remember. And she had some damage to her vehicle. So
oh my God.
She was charged and indicted. And the whole time, this Jennifer McCabe woman is like, oh, I'm going to hold a benefit. The cops do the benefits and shit. I'm going to hold a benefit for these two young children, that are left without their dad and all this. Well, what happened was the Norfolk DA's office investigated the case. The Norfolk DA I met with to discuss Sandra's case, I met with Troopers Fanning and Trooper Dunn. Keep that in mind as the story goes on, okay? So, unbeknownst to them, I guess, or they didn't really pay attention to it, she had means. She was an adjunct professor at Bentley, but she apparently had some means and hired some really good lawyers. One of the lawyers was out in California and like a defendant Harvey Weinstein and like really like high quality lawyers.
Stuff the cops don't want to deal with.
And Norfolk DA said to them about cell phones, oh yeah, this, we didn't see any deleted information or anything like that, and this is all we got, and which I guess they finally got the actual phones from the people inside the house party, and it was another incestuous relationship, town government relationship with this cop that was throwing the party and his kid, who was your typical kind of town ruling class jockey kind of douchebag with a temper. And there were feds there, there were state troopers there were Canton cops, a lot of BPD, and they all live like in that same basic neighborhood, like right down the street.
This is like a nightmare scenario.
Yeah. So they actually took a look at the cell phones and found, guess what? Karen McCabe couldn't have killed him, because they were like Googling, how long do you leave a body in the snow before it dies? And like, how long does it take to digest a meal? They were worried about a coroner. And messages back and forth from this Jennifer McCabe, and how Karen Reed was calling looking for him when he didn't come home. McCabe, not being places where she said she was, talking. It was just, they basically gave the whole fucking thing away. And what it really looks like, and what it's going to boil down to whenever it gets into the court or whatever happens. But it's gonna, because this went national. And, I will say Trooper Dunn from Norfolk DA, who I mentioned earlier, don't forget,
Mm-hmm.
he was one of those working on this case. He was the one with me and was telling me all about Sandra's cell phone stuff. So I don't know, that gets me a little bit, maybe you guys didn't really do the job on Sandra, because it looks like you guys are some kind of criminal outfit that like will literally kill people. I guess the cop was beaten and attacked by the dog, which was a German Shepherd. That was not a canine dog, but it was their personal family dog. However, it was a vicious dog.
Yeah, as your personal family dog, that's horrifying.
Right after that happened, they got rid of this dog they'd had for 7 years. No one ever saw or heard from the dog again. And they put the house they grew up in as children up on the market and sold it. So it looks like all hell's about to break loose. Now, the thing is, Sandra was killed in Canton. She was killed in Canton. I mean, a lot of these guys are from Stoughton, but they all hang out, like I was just telling you. Family relationships, you look at this family tree of these cops, it's wild, and where they stand with like the ruling class of your town. It's like, what? But yeah, so it looks like they set a woman up, but they didn't. And I guess Karen Reed, she didn't even really know these people.
So I was going to say, so they basically framed Karen Reed, it sounds like. What will come up?
Like she basically didn't even really know these people except like as acquaintances or just that night.
I'm glad she was able to get good lawyers, because that's the thing for the audience to like remember, like in our system, our justice system right now, like if Karen Reed didn't have the ability to get good lawyers and had to be like a public defender, she might literally serve time, because these people would just have presented their evidence and said she was guilty.
And imagine how she felt. Oh my God, I killed him. Oh my God, how did he feel laying there in a snowbank? Oh my God, how,
Yeah, it's like extremely mentally like upsetting.
Like someone with that.
Yeah. Like ultimate gaslighting. It's like you were drunk and killed him, and they're the ones that actually did. Potentially. I know it's still all alleged, but this is crazy. Well, now I wonder now though, I guess either of you could answer me, like, if this Officer Dunn and Fanning and others like are connected to all of these different cases that aren't adding up or having evidence come out, couldn't the DA like investigate more of the like go back and investigate Sandra Birchmore or like other and them even?
I don't even know. I don't know. I mean, obviously Fanning knows some things because, he had done with him. But I don't know like how involved he is. But the Dunn clearly was strongly involved in both. I think that is absolutely what should happen, but I don't think it will. Because I think that, and I know it's disheartening to say, but I'm also a realist. I don't think it will. And I'll tell you why, because the feds hired Billy Farwell at the TSA. They know, everybody knows what's going on here. I mean, come on.
It's the one that was involved in Sandra Birchmore, correct?
The one that was actually found in the investigation they give to people to have passed her on to other men and coerced her to go with other men.
And you're right, at the federal level, like you do, like they vet you, quote unquote. So they probably saw.
Of course they saw.
They saw, like,
Of course they did.
yeah.
And like, with Heel in the middle of the investigation, promoted to SRO from patrol. I don't know if it's a monetary promotion, but it's definitely a, if you're the town of Abington, why the hell are you going to take that kind of a chance? But they did, and it makes you wonder why. If I was in charge of hiring SROs for school, and I had a bunch of candidates, say 10 candidates, and if you're in the middle of an investigation for like a decade-long sex abuse and trafficking and death scandal, you're not going to be my choice.
Yeah, that would be my.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like, where is your fucking judgment?
Right.
Right?
Because you could Google that person at the time that they were being hired, right? And find all of those stories.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
and they're a town, they're a government. They have the resources to really vet these people before they hire them.
I do know that, and I'm not saying that all towns don't, but I do find that is much like not at I've never worked at the federal level, but at other levels, I have sometimes been surprised at how bad people are at vetting others, though. And I've seen things that people will do, and I've never worked with police, but so I don't know if this would work on people, but I've had people give me like references, and then I've had to figure out that it like wasn't actually the person I was calling. If that like it would be like, this is so and so from like the manager at this place, and I'd call and it was definitely like their friend. So I do wonder like if most people would figure that out, or if the cops would do that for each other even.
Oh, the cops, I don't think they even give a shit anymore about who they hire as a cop.
Yeah, I'm with you. We did a story with someone else, and the same thing happens in the Berkshires. Weird?
Like the one you'll hear the liberals saying, "Oh, they want to have they want to have better rules for the cops. We're going to fix the institution. We're going to reform it." And then these liberals are saying that in towns like that are looking to get rid of civil service, giving them a civil service exemption. Oh, because we're short on cops and no one's applying, and oh, so you're going to hide with all this going on, you're going to lessen your standards.
It's like, be short on cops based on the ones you have, you should have less. That's how I feel about this at this point. Like any town where they're like, we're short on cops, I'm like, thank goodness.
Well,
keep up the good work.
Right. It's funny. Like, and like I keep going on about like I hate the concept of SROs and cops acting as social workers and dealing with stuff like that.
They're not equipped at all. They're uneducated typically.
No, even if you have like some social worker at standby or goes on ride-alongs for every now and then, it doesn't work. That's not That's not who cops are as people.
Well, there's still the power dynamic with the gun. So like
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily, you're with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, right? Invest in actual professionals. Invest in actual professionals. These people don't want the job. They don't. One thing they hate is dealing with marginalized people. They can't stand it. They cannot stand, going to someone who's having, read that investigation that came out on Ron Sellon and how they all act towards each other and how they behave at work and the things they say and joke about and the things they get angry about and the bullshit that they do, and say to yourself, oh, these are guys I want, guiding people in crisis and having addiction problems in my town. That it's not going to work. Not going to work.
I'm going to offer, this is Spenny's policy corner for real quick. Just baseline, less money on body armor, just buy food. Buy food. We should just have fucking beans and rice at City Hall. And you can go down there, you get hungry, beans and rice. Like, I don't even mean to be like, it's things that don't go bad, you can keep dry and are base foods. And maybe like farms could donate or we could buy overflow produce. Like, I would much rather that and give it to anybody. It would solve. It's actually so pathetic how simple that solution is. And people are like, but what if we give it a gun? Like, that's the only solutions. It's like there's no imagination. And instead of giving, Holyoke wants to buy new guns, why can't we just like fix the fucking swing sets for the kids? Like, what?
I know it. It's
the ones you have, you shouldn't be fucking using them.
No kidding.
You're wearing them out because you're not taking care of them, or you're using them. Either way, it's not an answer I want to hear. Like, this is just, again, Spencer's policy corner. No more guns. Buy food.
It's ridiculous, and I hate it. I hate that they do it. It's the same thing with the SROs,
right?
And I think that there are a lot of stats that the good that SROs do in school is far outweighed by the bad.
I mean, they stopped 0 mass shootings. 0.
Yeah.
Literally since Columbine.
Well, I mean, and then they add to the problem when they get there. They add
with the gun narrative, right?
Yeah, they add to the problem when they get there, and they play to the sympathies of like liberal cul-de-sac type of Elizabeth Warren voter type of people, Hillary type of people. And, they're like, oh, we're going to get a cute dog and have it as a school comfort dog. And, people can come down and talk. And I'm like, that's Josh Hill used that dog for really pretty gross, nefarious,
Yeah, he was doing thirst traps with dogs. He was doing thirst traps with younger.
Yeah, and you've got like, it's ridiculous. I don't know how people can defend that stuff.
No way. That's like stuff my parents warned me about as a kid. Like, if some weird man has a cute dog that they want you to pet, like, stay away from them. But then we're telling the cops they can go into schools and do that. And no offense, cops, but you kind of usually are weird men.
We should just remind the liberals, the Elizabeth Warrens, they're reachable, right? I mean, the fascists.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that as time goes on, I think that the ones that were going to be reachable, for the most part, have been reached. I think that, I think that the ones that have dug in their heels to stay with like whatever the Democratic Party says
and be safe.
I think they're gone, because I think that, like Joanna says, they're afraid of change. And sometimes I have better luck, talking to conservative people about some of this stuff.
Well, the liberals, they like comfort dogs. And if we tell them how many dogs cops kill a day, maybe they'll abolish the police. That's my hot take. That's my dig at the
maybe. but it's just like,
I don't have much hope either. I agree with you. I just want to make.
but they're full on right now. I think they're more dangerous as far as the police are concerned because they're the ones, at least around here, that are fighting to add to police budgets,
Right.
improve grants and stuff like that. It's mostly the liberals,
I know, here too.
and it's like, why?
But
Why-
so
why-
they really feel like they're doing the safety thing for the community. And I've asked, and even in my town, like you can, and there's a shoestring just did a report on East Hampton, like how unsafe basically it shows. Like you can look at your town stats, like what calls are coming into your police stations every day. And like, how unsafe are you? Like, I feel when I walk down the street, I never feel unsafe in any town in Massachusetts. I'm sorry. So if you feel that way, I don't understand why people feel that way or think we're unsafe. Like a lot of the calls in my town are literally like a raccoon was too close to our house. Like there's
Oh my
sometimes
God.
like there was one stabbing in like a 6-month period, and that was the only violent act, which is terrible. But like we do not need a huge police force for that.
No, you don't. No. Spencer, I think I sent you this maybe last week. The picture of the fucking bougie wine mom. It was actually a guy that posted in some everything Mansfield or something, one of those, neighborhood groups. And it was someone had spray painted "fuck the police"
Oh yeah.
at the entrance sign to Fulton Pond. Now, this happened after my posters went up, right? So apparently I've started a trend, which I find good.
The youth are doing.
Because we are not responsible for that spray paint graffiti. We're poster people. But someone did it and I approve. But,
Me too.
there was a post and oh my God, was it funny? My neighbor sent it to me laughing, goes, "Did you do this?" And this guy says, graffiti scrawled on the entrance sign, "Going to Fulton Pond. My wife wasn't having it. She marched right back home and got her magic eraser and cleaned it up." And I'm like, I get a picture of her, and it's like, how
right.
fucking embarrassed. You should be embarrassed. Like, isn't that embarrassing?
I mean,
She shined that shoe right up.
yeah, dude, I'm having
What?
some fucking head rush from the fumes.
It was funny as hell.
Yeah.
But personally, I listen, I grew out of my graffiti phase a long time ago.
I
Thankfully.
know. Like,
A long time. But I also understand it as an act of defiance. And
And there are sick graffiti artists.
I saw
Shout
nothing.
out to all the artists that are graffiti artists. Arrest
I also
Rock.
saw nothing.
Love you.
I saw nothing. Unless it was a swastika, then I saw you, motherfucker, and I'll handle it.
yeah, I mean,
That's the
graffiti.
scenario where I'll go get my magic
Yeah,
mark.
totally.
Right.
It's like,
And
I have the right to do that.
even if you don't like it, you think it's dirtying up your community. They're just what that was about. It's like, so what? Like, if it bothers you that bad that you feel clean it, but like, why are you making a fucking big deal about it?
Yeah, like you're okay physically.
It's some paint. It's not, nothing was broken, nothing was stolen, nobody was harmed.
And personally, if I cleaned up a swastika, which I have, like I've covered up where, like, in my life, like,
Yeah.
in bathroom stalls and shit, you see fucked up shit, right? Especially in a men's room.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've seen some wild shit in bars and stuff, and you scratch that shit out because, like, nah.
Yeah, I saw a pastry up front poster
Like
recently. I destroyed it.
Yeah, or just let somebody know that will do it. Like, listen, but you also saw nothing. Nobody saw anything. Remember that, audience. I saw nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean,
I
it's
did
not big
destroy
deal,
that.
right?
I don't even know what paint is. What's paint?
I know. It's like, and I couldn't believe it. They were probably like late 30s, early 40s, but it's like
Ugh.
that mindset just makes me fucking sick.
Yeah, because they think like, oh, well, how can you disrespect the police? That's the thing about society that I do. Like, you could be right, Laura. Like, people who don't question the propaganda of like law and order listening to the police because they're an authority. I've always questioned things because of so many reasons I've mentioned in other episodes. Like, just because someone's quote unquote an authority doesn't mean they're right or that you cannot question them. It actually means they're probably corrupt and trying to fuck you up. And that is what the cops are doing.
It is absolutely what they're doing. It's, it's funny though, like when I'm amongst like my coworkers, people who are working hourly wage work, and I'm talking like from my department manager all the way down. I guess the day that I was out and I had the segment, a few of them told me that they were talking about it. And like, they know that I'm a radical, and they're like, well, but all of them, every last one of them, down to a person, were like, she's got to do what she's doing though, because that's messed up. And that shit needs to end. She's absolutely right. I support her in that. Absolutely. All of them. The reactionary old men, my boss who's like a fucking, workaholic wage slave, and my other coworkers, they were all like, yeah, this is messed up. How can you look at that video and think that, Jesus, why the hell are people still paying them? This is outrageous. And it's dangerous.
It is dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
It's like, for me, politically, okay, I'm going to put on my cynical hat. Like, I'm not involved. I'm not an operative in politics because I think it's disgusting for the most part, but I understand the necessary evil of it. But my cynical hat is take the win. Like, if you're a politician, look, I'm tough. This is a fucking easy one. Hey, man, you walked out on that plank on your own. Sorry.
Good luck.
You can if you move far enough away, they'll hire you somewhere else. Good luck, dude. Like, and that could have been it. What, a year ago? and it's like the same issue with Mayor Garcia and Holyoke. He could have just said no to ShotSpotter, and he would have like really upped his chances of me like kind of being more understanding about his policy choices. Like, now I'm like, yo, you better make the Office of Tenant Protections a thing. Like, there's groundswell for it. It's good. You have homeowners that are backing the renters. I don't know. I don't have any.
You know what though? You know what I think?
ShotSpotter and deny people who live here rights. Fuck off, man.
You know what I think? You know what I think is the problem?
Easy win.
This is just me. And this is just like my personal experience. So I don't know if it's true or not. I've never had the time really to delve into it. But it seems to me like Massachusetts being a Democratic supermajority, as it's been for a long, long time. And you've got power structures here that are set within the party and within like the institutions like the police. I don't know if you guys remember Whitey Bulger's stuff, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
And many movies that have seemed comically super villainary, where the FBI seems like the most villainous. Like, I can't believe the FBI did. No, they I don't even think Hollywood really does it justice.
No.
Like, having grown up in Quincy, like,
No.
literally my freshman year of high school, 9/11 happened, church scandal happened. I'm going over the Neponset River on the train, and they're digging up the bodies that Whitey Bulger buried because they were building the Pope John Paul II Park under the Neponset River Bridge. And
I know.
I remember seeing the news crews, and the train got stalled on the because it's the MBTA, so of course it was always breaking down. Still a problem. Anyways, it's just really funny. It's and that if that isn't Massachusetts like history, like in action,
You will hear people who are active in Democratic politics. By no means are they a majority, but you will hear people today who are very, active in Democratic politics tell you that, yeah, but there was a good side to Billy Bulger.
If you're
he enabled his brother, right, and all that, yeah. He made sure my son got a job here or whatever, then that's exactly what it is.
He ruled like a tyrant.
I know he did. Yeah.
He wasn't beholden to anybody.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
That goes like all the way through to the fucking cops. It's just it's really and same thing as Rhode Island. Rhode Island's the same shit as we are.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's nationwide, believe it or not. I think
It's so bad, man. It's like they literally set a woman that they barely knew up and killed a guy. Like like they were fine with having that woman believe that like she killed somebody that she loved very much.
Yeah, that's it's all
So
so
sick.
sick.
And like all of them, like in all those fucking houses on that friggin' cop block in Canton, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like how many of them are involved?
Yeah. And I gotta tell you, like they, with the exception of Schoenfeld, who said his piece and I said mine and we went our way. The people that like, and there were mainly two that bothered me about Selling, they almost seem obsessed with him, like, oh, he's almost like it's very authoritarian. Like they think that you can change one person, you can change a whole system.
Yeah.
And almost like a messiah type of thing. You know what I mean? Like he can save the day. And if you look at politics, it's the same thing. Hillary was the most, going to win, or, Trump is going to make America great again, and they believe this shit and they buy into it. And like, if you can't let that go, then I don't think that you're going to come around anymore. I think that we're at that point with like climate and with what the cops are doing and with the economy and with COVID. And I think that for the most part, if people were going to turn around, they would have done so by now. And if you are of that, I don't even know if it's a belief or an actual personality type that you want to look for someone to save the day. Like it's actually it's authoritarianism, but it's just a way of putting it that it doesn't sound so bad, but that's exactly what it is. It's oh yeah, Ron Sellen's going to change the police. He told me he really wasn't. And then you're like, well, yeah, he was. That was in the investigation. He was found. Well, if this goes to court and people are deposed, well, okay. I don't see that happening. I don't see it reported anywhere. I don't see it being planned in the future, being reported.
I assume if it's in an investigation, people were sworn in under oath, so there's perjury charges.
Yeah.
I don't think people pass perjury. If he wanted to fight it, he should sue them.
Yeah, exactly.
Player, but like, yeah.
But like also, like if you really gave a shit about this town, if he gave a shit about this town, he would do what you would, and he was totally innocent, which I don't believe. He's really being persecuted in railroad. I don't believe that, but say that was true. And you really loved this town, and that's why you felt you had to rule over it as sheriff or police chief or whatever you are. Then you know what? Take the L on the job, fight it in court, get another job, live in your house and move on. Let it come out in the wash. Hold your head high with your neighbors.
Yeah, don't extort your community from like
but I mean,
potentially
like
millions of dollars.
And entitlement, and I demand, I want.
Right.
So oh yeah, and that was his big appeal to the liberals, was he wanted cops acting as social workers and doing addiction services and homeless people services and stuff like that. That is what Paul Hero ran for Bristol County Sheriff. That was his platform. And I know Paul Hero, he's a nice person, I like him, but all the stuff that we know about the liberals and their ideas about changing policing and making them social workers and SROs and all that, Paul Hero is not a cynical believer in that. He is a true fucking believer in that shit. And he really does believe that he's doing a service. I knew him as Mayor of Attleboro. He's now Sheriff of Bristol County. And you know what happened in Dartmouth over the weekend, do you not?
I don't. Please tell us.
What a riot. Because Paul Hero was moving some prisoners to like suicide, his new, under his, we're going to become a treatment center type of plan. They were going to move them to some kind of suicide thing, and they had a riot. So it's like, there you go. You just took office in January. April's not over. People are not liking this. You're not changing the material conditions for the people in the prison.
Yeah, not
You're
if they're
not making-
rioting.
You're not making their food better. You're not making their, their cleanliness, any of that better. But you're going to say, okay, we're going to move you here. You guys are suicidally good. And no, they're going to riot. And they rioted.
I wonder if the suicide thing is an excuse to like solitary them.
I think so. I do.
Which is like torture.
They become suicidal. You got to address the needs. You can't just find a new way to cordon them off. And then, like, what do you have to have 2 people watching them 24/7?
I know it.
It's like it's just grit. I mean, this is really dark, but like it's like a grift. They're just trying to find a way to extract more dollars. If you just follow everything to that logical conclusion, and that's just doing legitimate things, like things that are above board and how they
Right.
fit things. And that's why propaganda is so fucking problematic. And like we're sitting here, and I would say Joanna and I are pretty plugged into at least Western Mass, if not all of Massachusetts, cop shenanigans, which are very underreported. But
You can't
like,
keep up with it, man. You
Oh, it's
cannot
so
keep
much
up
goes.
with it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's
like,
hard
this is
though.
the first I'm hearing about. So now after this, I got to go research anybody who's done any digging on the riot you're mentioning at his prison at the sheriff.
Yeah, Bristol County. Yeah. Paul said it wasn't. Paul Hero said, well, it wasn't really a riot, but it was.
I just
Yeah.
hope the inmates are okay, the people that
I
are
know.
incarcerated, because that's who will be the most harmed, and then the cops will have a reason. Like then the community won't care if they're abused, type of thing.
Right. And he preaches. Now, Paul Hero, it drives me crazy because he really does believe in this shit.
A lot of people do. I agree with you. Like they really do think they're doing the right thing, and I just, you're right. It's not the right thing though.
It's not. And it really lands well with well-off white liberals. Like it really lands well with them because I think a lot of them, they want to be seen as being a good person. They don't want to be seen as being, some kind of uncouth MAGA sociopath, but they really want like the same fiscal policies as that MAGA person. You know what I mean? They want all those rights, but they don't want to appear as racist or whatever. And some of them really like think they're doing the right thing. But they think that it's going to take another person or an institution to save the day. And that's where I kind of say that they're not salvageable.
I know what you're saying, because if you can't think of like sending people to services that aren't basically torture, which I know the normal like person may not even know what prison or jail is like. It's terrible. So, but I still think that's not an excuse to want like more for your community. Like you're saying, like, I don't know, like universal preschool, some camps in the summer for kids, libraries, which are disappearing in some areas,
A pool.
just things like that. A pool. I agree with you. Yeah, I want one in my town too. I'm always like, why are we paying for stuff like that other stuff?
Well, this town has a crazy wealthy tax base. There's people with a lot of money in this town. And that they're paying ridiculous property taxes, right? So why don't the kids in this town have like a swimming pool, a community center? Yeah, they do have senior housing, they have a senior center, but what about like a place for them to go and like play cards or you know, a bingo hall or stuff like that. Why not that? You know how many problems that would solve in Mansfield?
It would build
Just
community.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
It would get people seeing each other and
but
social.
yeah, but they really think that like, you know, okay, we're gonna put this job onto the cops. No, we're gonna put this onto the cops. And you know, I don't think cops, you know, lower rank cops even want that kind of job. They don't want to deal with people like that. They don't want to do that. They will if they're going to get paid, but you know, they'd rather not deal with you.
And they probably don't know what to do. I'm not trying to be like even
No, they don't.
mean, like they're not trained.
No, and I don't care how many certifications they have. Yeah.
No, it's not the same as going to school for like therapy. Like we have a previous episode with Spencer's wife, Bridget Kearney, who is this licensed social worker and has talked about like the role of social workers in this field. And like if people want to listen to that, they after this too, they might just get a different perspective on like why it's problematic, like Laura's saying, for like the two to overlap. And I mentioned the power dynamic earlier, but there are a number of reasons why it's a problem.
And like social workers are the perfect solution, but
No, there's no
is
perfect
there
solution. Better.
training is white supremacy being a cop too. So like good, the majority of social workers do have good intentions, but their training is to kind of make them be cops too.
It's a different personality type, I think, though.
Still a different baseline personality type. Generally, those people have people skills and want to resolve conflict because they themselves may be I don't know why anybody would get into that personally. I'm a conflict machine, so again, probably why I shouldn't be doing that job. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
you
it's like, yeah, but you don't have a badge and a gun.
Yeah,
right.
and that's who they hire though. Is like are people who are gonna go off. That's who
And
they
my
hire.
neurodivergent brain can be a little hard. Like, you know, I ramble, I talk a lot. Like, I understand, like, maybe like I just wouldn't present well, like in that role. But you know, Bridget, as Joanna mentioned, she's as you can we believe it comes through in the podcast how she is with people. And it's just it would be so much different if that was the type of people we were picking to deal with public safety.
Right. I mean, you could have safe injection sites, you know.
I mean bars.
Yeah, you could have safe injection sites, whatever, because
No, I just when people scoff at that, I like to be like, but what is a bar?
I know, I know. And it's like,
Glasses have to be cleaned. They're regulated by the local health department. Like they check, make sure their hot water works. Like
I'm gonna give an example and I'll use Holyoke as an example. People who get clean, right? When addicts get clean in Holyoke and they're going to like the methadone clinic there or whatever. Most of the clients are not actually from the city of Holyoke. A lot of them are from the bougie suburbs surrounding you, you know, quite like Mansfield like. But those towns will not allow a safe injection center, a methadone clinic, or any of that in their neighborhood. They're more willing to push their kids over to you that they don't want, right? Than to have what they need in their own town.
The Berkshires do that too, and I don't know if it's for lack of funding, but they don't have a lot of beds, so they send kids to Holyoke too, or anyone to the
they're
hospital.
closing. There's like a health services that got bought and privatized. I'm sorry, I'm speaking out of school here. There's less beds though available.
Which is sad because Holyoke's definitely a place where a lot of people end up, and Springfield.
Is like the GOP just unveiled their plan to like gut the VA to like pay for tax breaks. It's just I know that's not going to be the plan that gets passed, but it's just like
I think they're going to go after Medicare and Medicaid before they go after the VA. I think they're going to save the VA for last.
People love veterans, so I agree with you.
I'm
Yeah.
a veteran. So I think that that's what they're going to do. I think that's eventually going to go away as well. But like, we need so much, and people
Yeah.
are clinging to the fucking cops, and every day you wake up even us who don't look at, who are involved in this, and you can get easily overwhelmed. People see them like one story a day, even on television, are like, wow, this is out of control, but not in my house, not my yard.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people think it's not happening here. So that's why we try to do these stories, because it is happening here all over Massachusetts.
Well, see those programs, like I was saying earlier, those programs that were, that's Paul Hero's thing. That was his thing. That's always been his whole platform. He's wrong. Okay. But that's always been his ideology. That is in all of these police departments around here now. When I requested from Easton on the murder of Marion Griffith by basically an Easton cop who was there with the SWAT team, because a relative called on a wellness check. She was killed. She was 57 in Easton in February. This is the type of training they have. I mean, clearly you don't want this program in your town. I mean, they killed a woman in a suburb. They killed somebody. Well, that happens somewhere else. We're different. Training, no. But they won't let it go. And if people can't let that go, then I don't think they can be reached. I don't think they can. I don't think they have it in their personality.
Well, we can what we're going to do at the weed out is we're going to weed the garden, and hopefully we can grow something with all our people that do this abolition work, whether it's prisons, police, military,
Yeah.
abolition of patriarchy, any of that shit, like anything that's involving abolishing these yeah, their way of fighting authoritarianism deep inside themselves. So it's like remind everybody to just keep looking. We all have our ways of doing it, and when we do these shows to get the stories out, eventually the tide will turn. You just got to keep hitting them with it.
I think so. I think it's relatively new that this is in the suburbs.
Right. Well, it's always been there. It's just harder to hide stuff now. People are getting wise.
Well, I mean, people like us, people like you and Joanna and myself, Andrew, other people in the suburbs who are now going, what the fuck is up with the police? In Greenfield, initially you guys got defunded because the Petty Bouge Select Board was like, city council was like, fuck this, I'm tired of paying for your bullshit. And they stuck to it pretty good.
Yeah, they're still dealing with stuff in Greenfield. So if anyone in the area has any time, go check out some Facebook groups. I'll share the link. It's like Racial Justice in Greenfield, and Rachel Gordon and John McGee, they do a lot of work where they're trying to get the community message out. And right now the mayor still has the chief on staff, and they're targeting like budget cuts to the school system. So if you're someone in Greenfield or someone who supports or your children are a part of that school system, you probably want to go to the next meetings that they're having, and I will post those.
And just to remind everybody, a little housekeeping, go to our social media and our website. Anything we mentioned on the show, we'll have links to resources to our homework, but also anything that's coming up as far as actions like when there's going to be standouts or speaking for public comment about Ron Sellon or any other issue locally. It's important that we get the word out. And thank you, Laura, for, of course, doing what you do and sharing with us. Like it's
Well, like I told you guys, I am fucking done. I'm done with these fucking people. I just am. I mean, it's what we've got here. If everything shows to be absolute fact, and I think it will, because I don't think these attorneys would have released that information to the national news if it weren't. This is like a whole community of cops that set up a woman they didn't even really know to hide a murder. And they're the people investigating the trafficking and abuse for decade of a young girl and death.
in Holyoke, the Captain Reyes, who's with his sexual misconduct and toxic workplace thing. He was in charge of internal affairs reportedly. I don't know. I saw that in, I believe, in Mass Live report. But so the guy that's supposed to be investigating problems at the workplace was the fucking problem.
You see that over and over again and that's really common, like in police and the military institutions like that. I mean, that's just like, it's just how it goes. But I think it's getting worse. I think that as long as I've been around, I've known that the police target mostly marginalized people. You know, they've moved out to they're doing their shit in the suburbs, and they're not even afraid to do it there
Right.
anymore.
They're doing it loudly. That's what the thing is. And people are
Yeah, they've always done it, but yeah, they're doing it like right up front, like, fuck you, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, I mean, this is
Yeah.
9/11 world. Things went kicked into steroids, and this is why I mean, America's always been a fascist state. Because yeah, of course, white people say, "Oh, it's like,
I know, I know.
go ask the people that were here first. Go ask the people that we brought in and made them work. Go ask every immigrant class that came through here, and how they got co-opted into white supremacy. It's the same shit. Like, it's all at the. I'm sorry, like, just make a noise, but like, I just want to thank everybody for listening to the show. It's been nothing but, holy fuck, these people are crazy, but that's why it's important that we talk about it. And I do want to, before we go today, I was going to do lightning round, ghoulery, and tomfoolery. Does everybody down to do lightning round? I got 3 quick stories.
Yes.
All right, so it's ghoulery and tomfoolery time, and we're gonna go national here. So in Fort Worth PD, in Texas, I presume, basically the headline from 21 Fort Worth Live News or whatever, for sergeant who hit killed pedestrian previously suspended for crash, FWPD says. So basically, last week, a sergeant was driving and killed somebody with his vehicle, a pedestrian. He didn't even get suspended. Oh, he was previously suspended for hitting another person. He's gotten in 4 accidents. He's been suspended once and reprimanded 3 times. And this is the same town, Fort Worth PD, that Saturday there was a drag story hour event, and drag story hour defenders, people there to, offer security, got attacked by the police. They were protecting drag performers from Nazis. So yeah, this Fort Worth stuff is wild. Joanna, do you have anything to add to that? You and I talked about the story a little bit before, so
I'm just not surprised because of everything we've talked about today.
I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry. I don't know, when things are bad, I don't know what to do but laugh. It's the Catholic in me,
Oh, I do the same thing. It's like uncomfortable situations call
It's like
for
Dr.
laughter.
Simpsons.
I think that's a New England thing.
I can't. Oh, at least you got 6 months. It's very dark.
It's dark here all the time. We're emo.
It's getting nice. It's springtime. Laura, what's your quick hit thought on this?
Oh man. I think it's just exactly what I was saying about what's happening in the suburbs right now. I think it's that you're going to see more of this. The cops are openly in your face being fascistic, and that they're gonna defend. They're gonna do that. I think liberals might be surprised because it's going to escalate. And I mean, you're going to see this everywhere, but you're already starting to see it. They're arresting, the drag story hour defenders and siding with the Proud Boys. They've been doing that for a few years now. If you ever watch anything by Rod Webber, you can see that he documents that quite well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's Massachusetts FBI.
yeah, in Massachusetts, yeah. But like, yeah, I mean, Fort Worth, this is just another example of everything wrong.
It's crazy how like this is just my opinion. I haven't done any hard research on this, but I scan a lot of news, and New England is like notoriously exempt from like police stories. So I'm just wondering if the power is just so entrenched that like we hear about it, but we have to kind of dig for it. Like I feel like people just like to beat up on the South because like I don't know. I feel like they're just the whipping post. It's like this is where all the racism is, and that's what the people who control
That's
them.
not true at all. That really, that kind of comment really annoys me, because you know what that comment is? It's classist as fuck.
True. It's because we live in a segregated state.
I'm gonna tell, right, and I'm gonna tell you what, like, there are people that are opposed to fascism, that are some of the best lefties you will ever meet, who live in Appalachia, who live in southern states,
Of
who
course.
have been fighting this stuff. And more than these people who are complaining about, oh, these dumb hillbillies or whatever, you know, there are radical hillbillies still in Appalachia that are doing hell more than you'll ever do, casting a vote for Elizabeth Warren. So fuck you.
It's like the
That's
founding of NASCAR. It was founded by moonshine runners.
I know it.
But the real kicker was everybody thinks like moonshiners south, they must all be racist. It's like no, they're again like some of those were those people you're talking about. Is people that are willing to take chances and do
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
you know
It's the truth. It's like, and people up here, especially I think the liberalism in the Northeast is really bad, because it's very like, it's very petty bourgeois. It's academics, and it's the professional class,
the Berkshires.
the cul-de-sac
Berkshires
dwellers.
are very poverty stricken though, and I have to stick up for North Adams. It's the most poverty stricken city in
In the
all of
state.
Massachusetts, in the
Yeah.
state.
But like think about it, people come up and only
Yeah, rich people from other states and like infiltrate the area.
and then
Yeah,
like the economy 3 months and the rest of the year people are scraping on rocks.
right, right, right. Out here in Eastern Mass, though, I'll tell you what. Out here in Eastern Mass, very petty bourgeois, professional class.
And I think we have that in all of Massachusetts because, like, say you're in the southern state, and I know like someone in the southern states might not know this, but because we have the liberalism that we have, and people think they are doing good things and progressive things, we do have some things that are helpful, like the healthcare system. That's basically, if it were universal healthcare, would be great, but it's like corporate healthcare that people make money off of. So it seems okay because at least we have healthcare at all. So, but to move here from a southern state, if I was born in like Appalachia, to get out and come to Massachusetts is extremely expensive.
Yes.
Like you said, because cost of living, housing, even in North Adams, our most poverty place in the that's the highest rate. It would still be more expensive potentially than some places in the South to live, and to find a job that would pay for things at least too is the biggest issue in the Berkshires.
So I'm gonna bring it back local to actual in Worcester. PD has been mired in controversy. The DOJ is investigating them for the usual shenanigans, civil rights infractions. Ho hum, just another day. Big police department is a bunch of fascists. So while all this is going on, they're trying to get body cameras, and they've already like fucked up the rollout. It's been a whole mess. Of course, wasted money, yada yada yada. So anybody can Google the background on this. But the headline is Worcester City Council to consider a $1,300 annual stipend for police officers wearing body cameras. Keep in mind, the city will be buying the body cameras, so it's not for the officer to go out and buy a body camera. It's not like they're going to be responsible.
To bribe him to wear it.
It's to bribe them to wear it. And this is the thing, people. They're resisting body cameras because, of course, you always want to resist change, especially from a boss. If the boss wanted to put dash cameras or whatever facing inward towards me, I would resist that because whatever, like that's weird. I don't want to do that. And, we can talk about like the resistance to that. I get it, but they have a gun, so fuck you guys. And I understand how body cameras on its face are a good idea. I get it, but all it does is create a fucking snuff film, in my opinion. We don't need more proof that they're doing these things.
They have custody of the tape too, and they always release it when they feel like it. They edit it. I would much rather trust a filming from somebody's cell phone
Right.
than any body camera.
The
Really,
case, the damning video was from the streetlight. They happen to have streetlight cameras there. So yeah, and that's the thing. It's like body cameras, they know how to frame their body. I used to be on the body camera train, so anybody that thinks we're crazy, I get it. It seems like it makes sense, but they train them how to like position, like say they're gonna plant some drugs in a car. You know, let's just do a really obvious one. They turn their body and drop the bag like this, and their body is, you know, it's like, so like they know how to contort. They train them. This is like they train on how to not be held liable under the body camera while still having the body camera on. They're not trained to like capture everything. And they also, it's like a placebo effect. The officers think like, well, you know, we have body cameras. So if Joey over there is something fucked up, it's none of my business. It's going to be on the body camera. So then they don't even police each other.
they don't.
It's just like there's this false sense of security in the best case scenario, false sense of security in the system. And then they control the data. You know, I think the body camera footage should be uploaded right to the cloud, and
They decide when they're going to release it.
journalists can, well, you know, people's privacy. You're a public entity.
Ask Afro Man about that.
Right.
Ask Afro Man. Afro Man is in the right. And I got to tell you that Afro Man story, it's been a busy, I wouldn't say terrible couple of months, but it's been hectic. And when I saw that, it warmed my heart and probably made my week.
Long story short, Afro Man got fucked up warrant from his local sheriff. He then turned around, made a music video. He's suing them, and they're countersuing him because he made a music video of the security footage of them looking to turn off his security cameras while they investigate his
with their images. And he made, you know, that he publicly humiliated them basically.
I bet they still have some of his property in civil asset for forfeiture too. So he's probably
They took his money. They took his money. You can see the guy pocketing his money.
I'm sure he didn't get it all back. I guarantee he did.
Yeah.
I got none of it back. They don't give you back your money. Barely ever.
Anyways, but back to the so $1,300 just to bribe these cops to do this. And remember, everybody, resist body cameras, just abolish the police. Like, we're better off with that, because the body cameras, they turn it into a weapon. They create a snuff film. The white supremacists love it and they jerk off to it. The fucking liberals are horrified and then they're scared. Then they become scared of police and then fall for their demands when Greenfield police is like, we're going to pull our night shift. Oh, you're going to be so unsafe, you know, and people know what they can do. They will take life. And that's weirdly, some people look like Stockholm syndrome. Like, they have the power to protect me they're willing to kill somebody. I'm not willing to kill somebody. So they got that like Cinderella effect or whatever. I don't know what you call that, but like, some people have that, like, oh, the police will protect me. And
I do, because I'm horrible.
Other people also like it.
I have that because I'm a horrible person. Why am I so horrible?
Yeah, personally, I'm just like,
because I can look at it and go, this is fucked up.
Yeah, and I can keep myself safe. Like, I feel like as women, and I'm just gonna, Laura, maybe back me up here, or any marginalized group, like, forever we've had to protect ourselves from all y'all. So, you know, so I don't think like, I'm never like, oh yeah, these guys are gonna be helpful. And I've always,
a lot of times that kind of like chivalrous and
yeah, it's shady.
That's, and a lot of them probably don't even believe they're doing it, but that's misogynistic.
Yeah, it's like coercing you into thinking you owe them something.
It's patronizing, kind of. It's kind of patronizing, and it's putting you on a lower level.
It is.
I am not looking for any cop to protect me, and I do not want anybody telling me what I need to do and put on my posters. because I am fucking done with it. Like Rory Woods, the goddess, I am fucking done.
In our country where cops are lying about fentanyl and how fentanyl works. They're saying you can merely inhale it like on a open road with a gust of wind, and you can have. So there's part of people think like maybe it's panic attacks, maybe they're doing drugs, who, like, it doesn't really matter, but this isn't what fentanyl does. So it's a public health crisis thing. So in Billerica PD, they're doubled down. The Lowell Sun just regurgitated their bullshit and then kind of did a semi retraction yesterday. They basically like, it's not there's a debate on the exposure issue or whatever, very milk toast. There's no debate. Like, toxicologists have debunked this. Regardless, like, we could speculate like what happened with this officer, but as we've mentioned on previous episodes, there's the police union leader in San Jose that was importing fentanyl from China and India and did it for a decade. And we see all getting caught selling drugs out of the evidence locker, or part of their stings they're taking a little bit off the top, whatever. Like, this stuff trickles out, we hear about it, nothing happens. A lot of it's rumor, but like a lot of stuff where there's smoke there's fire. And we've seen enough cop TV shows, right? Like, this is one thing where like propaganda, they try to normalize it in the propaganda. This is kind of normal. Yeah, and these are just bad apples. No, it's like ripe with this shit. Anyways, yeah, so Billerica PD is being Andrew Quamir is our journalist buddy who's been on a bunch of episodes, and we hope to have him back soon. He's been on it pushing back along with other journalists and other activists. But it doesn't matter. It's like the cat is out of the bag. People saw that. Their first impression is, oh my God, did you see what happened to this officer? Boo hoo, I hope they get the health care they need. And it's like, well, what if turns out they thought it was something else and snorted it because they have a drug issue and they couldn't resist it and they get health care, but other people get thrown in jail? Like, it's all rife for contradictions, in my opinion. That's my take. I just think it's misinformation, and then it also just like points out the glaring discrepancies when you have a badge.
If you all right, here's my take on this, and this is exactly what I thought when I saw that story, because that pisses me off. I hate that. If people don't think that, I mean, if you know that Sandra Birchmore happened, you're seeing the corruption with Sellon, you're seeing what's going on in Holyoke, you're seeing what's happening, up in Canton with Karen Reed. And if people don't think that the cops are not selling most of this fentanyl, and then they're lying about how it's transmitted or causes overdoses, which is a public health problem, they can't be spreading a bad public health message. It needs to fucking stop. But they're spreading that message because, I think a lot of them are making money on it, just like they did in the 90s, right? In the 80s with crack. That's what's going on. It's obvious.
Even if they're not dealing it, they're in the game of looking like they're the cat chasing the mouse. So they're at least benefiting from it's constant income.
Oh, they get bribes to look the other way.
You just gotta look as simple as that. Like, let's keep this cash cow rolling. Like, let's do just enough, and like make a big deal. And it's like, at the end of the day, people need the drugs. Why do people need drugs? Let's solve the root cause of why people are doing the drugs.
Exactly.
Like, if they're gonna do the drugs, could they at least just be regulated? Like, we don't know what the fuck's in this shit. You know what I mean? If you're buying
this propaganda, though, this particular propaganda is horribly dangerous. It's really wicked dangerous because it's going to discourage people from administering Narcan. They're going to go, oh, what if they have fentanyl on them and I breathe it in or I touch it? And, I could die. That's what they're doing.
Right. I mean, that's one outcome. And then another outcome, it's like, at the very least, then, kids are going to be like, well, I won't do fentanyl, but I'll do something else. Like, you're not teaching anybody about drugs. You're just creating chaos.
Right. And fear. You're keeping people in a heightened state of fear for fear of like actually helping somebody that may need it.
Joanna, what's your take?
Oh, I agree with both of you. And I mean, I also say shame on any reporters who take information from the police who basically always lie and then print it as the truth. I mean, as someone who writes once in a while as a journalist, I would never just get information and be like, oh, I shouldn't ask like a doctor or someone, like even a pharmacist about this before I like run with it. So it's on the cops for sure because they should have the training to know about this, and they do. Again, it's a safety like bullshit thing to scare you into thinking you're unsafe on like multiple levels, and to discourage all of us from like wanting to take fentanyl too if we're like in the hospital and need it. So please review these things because pain medication is not the devil. I don't know. I just think it's scary. Like this is eventually the police and the reporters need to stop working in tandem to spread information.
People wear fentanyl patches for medical reasons all
Yeah.
the time, and I think it's a necessary. I know people who've had cancer who have like had types of surgeries where they've got parts of their stomach missing or whatever, and they wear a fentanyl patch. To have it go transdermally, you have to have it mixed in a solution and not a patch, or it's not going to go through your skin.
Like Joanna was saying, with you don't want to discourage people in a controlled setting with somebody who knows what they're doing, and you're in a
Right.
situation where you need something, and this is what they have. This is the whole point of like drugs in general being legalized. um it's like we need to encourage these businesses or these places supplying the drugs to be out in the daylight, so that way people are getting, if they're doing it, it's not going to be what they don't think it is. They thought it was heroin, but it's got fentanyl in it, it's fentanyl's cheaper or whatever any reason it is, and then lying about it. It's like totally obscuring the original point of the problem. And yeah, I mean, people are going to alter their situation. I don't think we can prohibit that, and it's really too bad. And it's the different populations then also get blamed for the fentanyl, so this like doubles down on the whole build the wall, like the fentanyl's
Yeah.
go. And it's like, well, we never hear Mexico bitching about the guns going down there. Even they have a legitimate gripe there. So maybe we should shut the fuck up about fentanyl coming from Mexico.
They won't though. They won't, because too many people are making too much money on it.
Yep.
That's a fact.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it's the usual shenanigans. And just remember, like, whenever you see these stories and you're sitting with somebody, also make sure they know that that's not true. Like, and if you don't take our word for it, you can Google it. It's widely debunked. It's the toxicology of fentanyl has been lots of talk about this. This has been going on for years now, this lie. It's like, it doesn't it feel like the 80s with those ads?
It does. It does.
Like
It does.
worse, because they're using, it's not like dramatizations, they're using real life things that happen. And like,
Yeah.
what if this poor, I mean, pardon me, this officer was having another episode, for maybe she's having a seizure, and they're just spinning, they could be just using her as a way to put out misinformation. Like, that's also possible. And
It
it's
is also possible.
using this person to spin an agenda, regardless of like why they're in the hospital. It seems kind of gross to me.
Oh,
Like,
it's just
regardless of what, even if it is she got exposed from anything, to sensationalize it and to scare the community with it, and then like her well-being is really just like cannon fodder, or
yeah.
his. I'm sorry, I don't know why. I don't know who the officer was, but it's what if it turns out they have a drug problem, and then we just use them as like I don't know, a whipping post? It's just weird.
It is. It's like yeah, it is. And like a lot of times the symptoms are even off.
Right. It's a like anxiety instead of a downer, which is what fentanyl is.
Right.
And like, I just want to say, Joanna, great take, because journalism has to be better. And we salute any journalists and any casual human just making sure their neighbor knows that's not how that works.
Appreciate what you guys do. For that reason, we need this stuff, like to have a platform and get out there. We need to counterbalance this stuff.
Gotta do what we can, and it's probably a good place for us to wrap up for the night. But I want to thank everybody listening. And Laura, as always, you're always welcome to come back on anytime. Anytime you have anything to report. And I could keep going, so I'll let you and Joanna kind of take it out. Thank you everybody for listening, and take it away, friends.
Hey, good night. Good night, Joanna.
Good night. Thank you for coming on, and
Thank you, as always.
thank you. And like Spencer said, you're always welcome.
You guys are deeply appreciated.
And as are you. We're glad to have you in our state, and as our friend and neighbor fighting the good fight out in Eastern Mass.
Take care.
Yes, you too, and to our listeners as well. Take care.